Okay, so I'm going to introduce the two genetic crosses, and I want to get our vocabulary right and our understanding right before we move into it. Characteristics are controlled by genes, all right? Your genes control your characteristics, and each characteristic is controlled by a pair of genes. Now I'm trying to demonstrate almost a nucleus here with a circle, and the gene I'm discussing is hair colour, or rather the characteristic I'm discussing is hair colour, and that hair colour is controlled by a pair of genes. One of these genes came from your mother originally, one came from your father originally, but it's controlled by two. Now, if the gene is shown as a capital letter, in this case big B, it means that gene is dominant. Now, a dominant gene will always show itself in the phenotype of the characteristic. Now, that means what the characteristic looks like, okay? So in this case, for my benefit, we're going to say that big B is the dominant gene, and that means an individual has blonde hair, okay? This individual contains two big B genes, therefore their characteristic, their hair colour, will show itself as blonde, okay? But there are other possible gene combinations. For example, a person could have these genes for hair colour. Now, these two genes are different. We call these different alleles. They both code for the hair colour gene, but one's a capital B, one's a small b. They code for different versions of that gene, and we call a different version of the same gene an allele. So, little b in this case, and it's not true, but just for my benefit, I'm going to say is recessive. And in this case, that means the person will have brown hair. Now, in this instance, even though this person has the allele, when you introduce the word, for blonde hair and the allele for brown hair, the actual characteristic, the way it appears in the person, is that this person has blonde hair. And that is because the dominant blonde gene takes over, shows itself, always comes out in the phenotype. Remember, I've said this twice now. Phenotype is how the characteristic shows itself, how it appears. Genotype are the actual genes that are in there. Of course, with the alleles we're talking about, we have another combination. We could have an individual who has two little b alleles. They will now be brown haired. When we have two recessive alleles, there is no dominant allele to take over, and therefore the recessive characteristic shows itself. Okay?